Okay, let's take a look at Road America. Heading out of pit lane, you're approaching the fastest part of the racetrack here, approaching turn 1. So we want to stay hard driver's right all the way down into the first corner, obviously monitoring left side mirrors, yielding to any cars that are already on track. Get up to reasonable speeds when you approach turn 1. You'll at least get to the apex close to the same speed that the cars on track will be doing. A little note on the curbing here at Road America. All these red and yellow curbs are fairly bumpy, provide decent runoff should you need it, but they do shake the car quite a bit. A couple spots I'll point out where it's really rough outside the red and yellow curb. Heading down to turn 3, that little dogleg we just went through is actually turn 2. We're looking in, we're going to be on the brake, some hash marks on the left, number boards on the left. Find a good reference, work your brake point in, you want to be off brake, and starting your turn in about here. This pavement transition is a great reference for final brake release, looking at an apex somewhere up in here on the right. Back to power by this point, opening the steering and allowing acceleration. Straight hands, full throttle again. Watch this track out curbing, it can be rough. If you get over it, that stuff on the outside is actually better. Heading down the long straightaway between turn 3 and 5, there's a little dogleg kink they count as 4. We're going to aim for the right side of the road underneath the Sargento Bridge right in here. Taking our time getting to speed. Long straightaway. Second fastest or third fastest part of the racetrack here coming down to turn 5. Number boards on the right start to show up. We're going to try and aim to be on the right side of the road about the 3 board, which is going to put us parallel with the edge of the road. Working our brake point in, starting at the 4, working later. Can get down to the 3 depending on the car and how fast. Down through the gears, once again using this asphalt switch here as a off brake point, or finishing your final brake release. Looking into an apex about the midpoint of the curbing on the left. Back to power to balance. Good acceleration coming out. This curbing on the right, very rough on the car. Highly recommend staying off of that. Going up the hill to turn 6, it's a blind entry. You're braking at the crest of a hill, really challenging corner, so you got to find a fairly early brake point. Leading edge of the bridge is a good reference. Don't use the shadow because it changes. Finishing the brake as you come out onto the bridge and starting your turn in a little before this transition into an apex right in the midpoint of the corner. Unwinding the hands to the exit. Again, a little bit of rough stuff on the yellow and red. Better once you clear over it if you need all of it, but take your time on that track out. Easy to catch a wheel there. Hustle back to the left side of the road for turn 7. Fast right-hand sweeper. Just a breathe of the throttle in most cars. Back to power. Some cars can do it flat out. Apex right in the middle. Another rough track out curve to be wary of. Dropping wheels, hooking back across. Bad thing here. Heading down to turn 8. Got some number boards coming up on the right. Working our way in. Pick a comfortable point, work your brake point in later and later and later each time. The end of this asphalt curbing is a good reference for turning just a little before that when we're really going fast. Once again, pavement seems a good transition. Apex in the middle. Looking for a track out here on the right. Another really rough curb to be careful of as you track out. They have since changed it from this. It's even rougher. Approaching the carousel under the Speedville Bridge. Mid-track works. A lot of positions work for a lot of cars. You generally want to stay right third of the racetrack through the carousel. Just working the throttle here. Trying to get to full but not quite able to. Maybe a little adjustment mid-corner about where the guardrail ends and the wall begins. Looking for the apex down on the right. We want to get in and just touch the curbing there and then free the car to the exit. It does camber out a little bit. You gain a little bit of grip in that apex area. This black patch, a great reference for your final upshift as you exit the carousel. Approaching the kink, one of the fastest corners, the fastest corner on the racetrack. Really exciting, really thrilling. Some cars it's flat out, some cars a little breathe. There are various undulations in the apex here. You want to do all your speed adjustment before, so you're back on some power to balance approaching the apex. Like I say, because of the crowning of the road, the car undulates a little bit through here, so be careful of that. Don't bind the car, let it track all the way out. As you can see, the walls get really narrow when you're going just about as fast as the car can go. Heading down the long, crooked back straight to Canada corner. Another very fast part of the racetrack, reaching terminal velocity here in just about everything. Looking for number boards that show up on the left after this last dog leg. You want to be left side of the road, hard on the brake, working your brake point in again as you approach Canada Corner. Once again, another asphalt change is a great reference for finishing your brake release into an apex here on the right about midpoint of the curb. Looking up for a track out on the left. Once again, a very rough exit curbing. This black stuff out here is really, really rough. Stay off of that. Exiting Canada Corner, approaching Billy Mitchell. Going to be on driver's right. And turn-ins just before the end of the yellow and red curbing. This crowns a little bit here, and the car gets a little light, so let it move as you track out onto this access road. Use all the racetrack there as possible. Approaching turn 13, another asphalt change is a great reference for brake point. You don't want to brake too late for this one. This is all about exit speed as you approach the uphill, turn 14, as you approach the front straightaway. Off brake, turning in, getting into the apex right about midpoint of the corner, squeezing to power. This is one where if you hop the track out curb and use the pavement on the outside, a little bit smoother if you need that little extra bit of space. Real important because it's a long, long, long uphill straightaway to get a good exit out of the final corner there. Okay, lots of time to think about turn 1. We're going to take a look at it here as we start to slow down. You're basically looking for the end of pit wall on the right and then an access road on the left up here. Good reference for braking. Depending on how fast the car is, you're going to either brake in before or immediately after that access road. And turn 1 has a really tricky brake zone, and then it's kind of flat with a very subtle climb at the end and then a drop off after this one cone, the single cone here. It does kind of go downhill to the turn-in point, so the car tends to get light. It's really tricky. Eyes in, it's much faster than it looks. Spend a couple laps taking your time, really getting the line down here before you roll in the speed that turn 1 can truly carry. A little apex curb in the middle, tracking out driver's left. Squeeze to full. Don't follow the extreme left side of the road because of the dog leg for turn 2, but do end up on the left side of the road as you get down here to the end of the wall there. Brake is on, usually one downshift. Trailing off brake by the seam, looking for an apex in the middle. Let it track out to driver's left all the way. Fairly straightforward 90-degree kind of corner. Another long back straightaway from turn 3 down to 5. Good chance to relax the hands, take a deep breath. Get plenty of rest here at Road America. No point to be tense and wear yourself out. So use these long, long straightaways to relax, shake your hands out, check your gauges, take your time on your shifts, make sure they're accurate. Once again, looking to end up on the right side of the road about the 3 board, which is right there. Get you parallel with the edge of the road, hard on the brake, down through the gears. Second or third gear depending on which car you're driving. Trailing off brake here into the apex, squeezing to power. Fairly slow corner, just about the slowest corner on the racetrack. Full power coming up the hill to turn 6. Don't leave the braking too late. The car won't turn because it'll be airborne. So a little brake on, soft on the brake release. It's a long soft brake release. Back to power to balance into the apex. Really tricky turn in here for 6. Let it track out. Be careful of dropping a wheel and hooking. Setting up on driver's left for 7. Breathe the throttle back to power. Catch your apex in the middle. Let it track out all the way driver's left. Squeeze to full. Back over to the right side of the road. Approaching turn 8, pick a reference, move your brake point in, looking for the end of this asphalt for a turn in or just slightly before. Off brake, trail the brake into the seam, back to a little power to balance, and then hard acceleration coming out as you head for the carousel. You don't need to swing all the way left, middle of the road, just left of center, just right of center. A lot of things work. It's such a long, long corner. It's all about throttle maintenance and position. Eyes are up. Going to be start working your way down to the inside. When you see the end of the guardrail, that means look for the apex curbing on the right. We catch the apex, we let it track out. Again, black patch tells you you're at track out right there. Approaching the kink. Top gear, just to breathe the power as you approach. Roll back to power as you turn in. A little compression at turn in, a little compression at the apex, and then unweighting on the way to exit. Let the car move with it. Don't bind it in there. Heading down the long, crooked back straightaway. Sort of a little apex on the left. Move it out to mid-track. Back to another little apex on the left. As we get ready for our brake point, 4, 3, 2, pick one, work your way in, hard on the brake, eyes up. Canada's a little faster than it looks, so off brake, start to work on your entry speed. Apex in the middle, tracking out. Once again, stay off the black stuff, really rough. Full power up the hill to Billy Mitchell. Turn 13. A little breathe of the throttle or brake depending on the car, usually much faster than it looks. You can climb to this point, then it kind of crests, and let the car run out all the way over this curb and onto this access road. Kohler sign is a great reference for braking. Don't brake too late for 14. Going to be off brake just as you turn. Get back to a little power to balance. Apex in the middle of the curbing. Unwind the hands. Real important to get that exit here. You want to be full throttle coming off that apex for this long, long, long front straightaway. All right, let's move down to the roll bar view. A little closer on the car. Approaching turn 1. Looking for the references on the left. You've got the access road. Brake is on. Down through the gears. Usually 1 or 2 downshifts depending on the car. Back to power. At the middle of the apex point, full throttle coming out. Down to turn 3. Brake on. Eyes up. Usually 1 downshift from the gear you pulled coming out of turn 1, back to power at the apex. Try to get full throttle off this apex because this is a long, critical straightaway here. Take advantage of the straightaway to relax the hands. Big deep breath. Check gauges. Don't hold the wheel too tight. Approaching turn 5. Looking for the 3 board on the right. Down here. Brake is on. Eyes are looking into the corner. Going to be trailing off brake at this transition into the apex. Once again, slowest corner on the racetrack. Don't overdrive it. Don't get stuck out on this rough track out. Full power up the hill. Approaching the Corvette bridge. Brake a little before. Be ready to transition off brake and into the corner. The car gets light at turn in, so it takes a little doing to figure this one out. Let it track out driver's left. Hustle back to the left side. Looking for turn 7. Breathe the throttle, back to power, catch a little curb, track out driver's left, full power down to turn 8. Pretty decent long straightaway, good passing opportunity here. Find brake references on the right, get it slowed down, looking for the end of the asphalt for turn in, off brake, pick up power, mid apex, and track out. Setting up driver mid-track for the carousel. The key to the carousel is the eyes. Looking far enough ahead. We're watching for the guardrail to end. That's the cue. Maybe a little throttle adjustment here in the middle. If you develop a push, it starts to camber out a little as we get into the apex. We gain some grip. Let it track out to driver's left over the patch. Ready for the kink. Up to top gear. A little breathe of power at the access road. Back to roll into throttle here. Settle with power through the kink. Full throttle on the exit. Getting ready for Canada corner. Another straightaway. Chance to relax. Breathe. Think about your plan for Canada. Looking for number boards on the left. Work your way in past the 4 board. Hard on the brake. Down through the gears. Looking into the apex. It's faster than it looks. Transitioning off brake. Into the apex. Pick up full throttle on the exit. Approaching turn 13, or otherwise known as Billy Mitchell. Little breathe the throttle. Back to power. You can see the climb here. It unweights. Use all the road at the exit. Hustle back to driver's left by the Kohler bridge. Brake is on. Downshift, brake off, pick up power. Into your apex, full throttle on exit. Long, long, long front straightaway. Alright, let's go down to the cockpit view for one more lap here. Okay, approaching turn 1. Once again, a little harder to see. End of the wall. It's coming up quick. You got the access road, 4 cones, brake is on. Down a gear in most cars. Eyes are in. Transition off brake. Pick up power. Faster than it looks. Let it track out to driver's left. Watch those curbs. Heading down to turn 3. End of the wall. Brake is on. Down a gear. Eyes are in. Transition off brake. Pick up power. Full throttle on exit. Relax and breathe. long straightaway. Really no reason to be tired at Road America after a lap with all this chance to rest. Right side of the road under the Sargento Bridge. Straightaway is a great place to check mirrors. Looking for the 3 board. There's 5, there's 4, there's 3. Work your brake point in. Looking into the corner. Find your apex on the curbing. Off brake. Pick up a little power as we get to the apex. Full throttle on the exit. Stay off of this track out. Approaching turn 6. Just before the bridge. A little brake on. Smooth release off the brake. Bend it in gently. Not too abrupt here. Use all the road at the exit. Hustle back to driver's left. Eyes up for turn 7. Just a breathe of the power. It's a fast corner, fun corner. Let it track out. Hustle back to driver's right for turn 8. Number boards on the right, hash marks on the road. Brake is on. Down a gear or 2 into the apex. Second slowest corner on the racetrack. Get your apex. Let it track out. Watch the exit curbing. Middle of the road and the approach to the carousel. All about working the throttle. Pay attention to the wheel inputs. Are you picking up a push? What's the car doing? End of the guardrail, we start looking for that apex. Catch our apex, we're looking for track out. Now you can really see the camber there. And approaching the kink. Subtle undulations in the road, a little breathe of power, back to full. Keep the car stable, let it track out. Down to Canada corner, one more time. Looking for number boards on the left. Try to work your brake point in. It's faster than it looks. It's a blind entry. You can't see. Looking for the apex on the right. Get it in there. Pick up power. Full throttle on exit. Setting for Billy Mitchell. Just a breathe of the throttle, depending on how fast. Maybe a touch of brake. Back to power. You're climbing. The car plateaus a little. Let it all the way out onto this access road. Hustle back by the Kohler Bridge. Brake on. Eyes in. Find your apex. Get off that brakes to initiate throttle. Full power coming out. Full throttle up the straightaway, and we'll transition into pit lane. With such the high speeds here, it's real easy to come up pit lane too fast. At least you got plenty of time to get it slowed down as you work your way into the pits. Long, long, long pit lane. Stay driver's left all the way down. And that's Road America.